This is Jocko podcast number 488 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
So, podcast 485 was actually Carrie, not you. You were, extremely busy, occupied, doing something.
Yeah.
Like vacation.
Body surfing.
For 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we started covering some quotes from the Hunn-Beating Proverb book, which was published in 1918. And it was aimed at, for the most part, it was aimed at Canadian soldiers who were fighting the Germans in World War I. And I talked a bit about why the Germans were called Huns. It was a derogatory name, which was based on a speech that was given by Wilhelm II as the German soldiers left for China years before to stamp out the Boxer Rebellion. And Wilhelm II said that the Germans would take no prisoners, offer no mercy, and that they would be feared just like people feared Attila the Hun and his army. And so the Brits and the Canadians and the Americans eventually started calling the Germans the Huns. And so that's what this book is about. So the subtitle of the book is Containing Many Proverbs That Point to the Destruction of Arrogance, Tyranny, Villainy, Vice, and the monstrous militarism of which Germany has been guilty. And we made it through about half the Proverbs last time, so we're going to get the second half done. Many lessons. Got a lot of good feedback about that last one.
Yeah,
This is Ancient Wisdom.
Yeah.
From 1918. Is that ancient? Well, some of it's from prior to that.
A little bit.
So here we go. Let's get into it. Let's get back to the book, the Hunn-Beating Proverbs. The first one, out of the gate, is a good one. If you leap into a well, Providence is not bound to fetch you out. Hey, you know the bed that you're lying in?
Yeah.
You made it.
Yeah.
You made it. No one's got to come get you out of that bed that you made.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it yourself.
Yeah. You know how there's different expressions for that, right? You made your bed. You lie in it. My favorite one, and I'm remembering this because I just heard it recently. Mm-hmm. You chose the music. Oh, so you got to dance.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Oh, that's another good one. Yeah, so there you go. Notice that all those different expressions put it on you.
Yeah,
these are alternate versions of extreme ownership.
Yes.
Next one, if you lie upon roses when young, you'll lie upon thorns when old. Yeah, so you spend much time partying when you're young.
Yeah.
You ain't going to have the time to party when you're old.
Yeah.
Now, some people think that's good. Reverse retirement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see it, I guess.
Live it up when you're 20 and 22 and you're all healthy and,
right.
and
basically when you can.
Yeah.
So, and bruh, all you got to do is kind of think about that for a little bit. Of course, with contingency, like other stuff that you can't just go 10 to 0. Mm-hmm. Maybe like an 80-20 scenario. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? Because when you're old, you got to have some, something to maintain yourself. Yeah. But there's a lot of, we'll call it logic to hey, you're capable of living it up when you're 20, 30, even 40 for the most part. I'm generally speaking. Yeah. But if you spend all that time doing chores, the chores of life, it's bro, you're going to miss out on some stuff that you simply cannot do when you're older. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. You can't go, I don't know, cliff jumping, for example.
Yeah, it's hard to do when you're 80.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't do it.
Yeah, low cliff, bro. I don't know, bro. There's 8 people in the world who's going to cliff jump at 80,
Yeah, true.
It ain't me, but yeah, I dig it.
Yep. There is something to be said for, you know how you feel when you're done with a workout, a workout that you didn't want to do. Yeah. Like for instance, today I didn't feel like working out, and I had to do squats, which is it's a big step, right? And I didn't feel like doing it, but I knew that when I was done, I was gonna be stoked that I did it. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Because now I'm in the present. And you kind of have to set yourself up for your future presence.
Yeah, so true.
So if you, and like you said, there's got to be a balance to it. If you're just getting crazy and because that's another piece of it, right? If you're getting crazy when you're young, well, you didn't take care of your health. So now you're in bad shape when you're older.
Right.
If you take care of yourself when you're young and you can still be in good shape, and maybe you can do a low cliff dive when you're 80.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're right about that present thing. So that dawned upon me yesterday as well. Well, that was today in your case, but where, yeah, you have almost this kind of like gray area that kind of expands on like what you should be paying attention to. And of course, you'd be paying attention to everything, right? Learning from your past and then like planning for the future, whatever. I think that's a responsible way to do it for sure. But even when you're preparing for your future present, as you put it, which is a good way to put it, by the way, you're still in the present. So what past situation did you accommodate your present situation? So squats, for example. If you were drinking the night before, you kind of screwed up your present self at that moment. See what I'm saying? So you didn't drink. So it's like one of those things where you constantly got to be cognizant of your future present. See what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you get too cognizant, you screw your present. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's almost like, yes, I'm glad that I did this, but I can't really be glad because I'm too busy worrying about my future present.
I've definitely ventured into that zone in my life, for sure.
Yeah.
Where, for instance, and one thing that I'm very paranoid about being late.
Yes, sir.
Right? So there's times in my life where I could have tried to do something, but there was a risk that I might be late for something else. Just a risk. Maybe the risk was 10%. But I'm so paranoid about being late that I wouldn't do this other thing, whatever it might be. And there's times where that was like, oh, a work related thing. Like, oh, I'm not going to involve with this thing because I got to do this and I don't want to be late for that thing. So, not going to do it. Hey, there's good waves. Oh, but I gotta be at work at 8. There's a chance when you're surfing that you lose your board and you got to find it, and now you don't get to the beach when you thought you were going to get to the beach, and now you're 10 minutes late for work. So what do? Not surf.
Don't go surf.
And I've done that before in my life. I didn't do it a lot, and I definitely figured out, hey, okay, that means planning wise, instead of getting out of the water, planning to get out of the water at 7, I'll get out of the water at 6:50. So that gives me the 10 minutes. And I already had fudge factor built in because I was so paranoid about being late. But it is definitely something that I could have. There's times in my life where I didn't take advantage of a current thing because I was too worried about the future.
Yeah.
And so that's cost me.
Let me ask you this, because I did catch that part. I listened to the last one of these, you and Carrie. And you talked about the whole being late thing. And you guys kind of like chopped it up about like, how it's like, I know you over said it to make a point. So how it's just like this massive disrespect to yourself and to your life and all this stuff or whatever, which I felt it. Yeah. And actually just listening to you guys say it, almost like, I guess it's from a detached perspective, where a lot of times when I'm involved, I'm thinking of my own philosophy, and I compare it, but I'm kind of in the moment. But I was listening to you guys and I was like, bro, he kind of has a point, bro. I mean, I know he's like exaggerating.
You 10 years to figure out
well, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's a difference between having a point and being 100% correct. There's a difference there. So when I was listening, I was like, bro, he has more of a, the point is landing harder and better than it has in the past. We'll say that. Not to say it hasn't landed in the past, but it's better. Like it kind of like affected me a little bit more. So it's like, maybe I could benefit if I really took this to heart. Like, hey, this is really a character thing, where me not caring about being late as much as I maybe should is a bad thing on my kind of character, because there's more to life than like me freaking, I don't know, sleeping an extra 8 minutes or whatever it is I'm doing, I always looked at it like, I'm not going to take, like if I'm giving my time to someone else, I'm not going to give them more of my time if they're giving me whatever they're giving me in return for the time. It's like, that's the deal we made. And hey, maybe I'll give you more. Yeah. Totally.
You said 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's the contract.
Hey, look,
it's the deal.
Maybe I'll get there at 7:50 and give you an extra 10 minutes if I feel like it. But I shouldn't be shamed if I don't. You see what I'm saying? And hey, look, nobody's perfect, so I might show up at freaking 8:02 or whatever. That's my justification. But if you make it a point, I think there's more benefits to that now.
Yeah.
where it's like that's who you are, and then because you guys talk about being reliable, being a reliable person. So cool, reliable person, that sounds good, but that doesn't hit you as hard as, hey, this guy's unreliable. See what I'm saying?
I'm like, that is a big difference. That's a stark difference.
Yeah. So I think so. But here's the question for you, Jocko. How much of this is you just like saying it to yourself, like, hey, I have this rule, and it's based on these reasons, but I have this rule, and really that's what it's about. Like, I'm just sticking dogmatically just to my rule because it's my rule. You know, I made this decision for myself, and I can't break it because whatever. You know,
I think it's that. There's some of that, but there's also just the pragmatic knowledge of that, of just like, oh yeah, being on time. Like, I don't want to signify when I walk into a room. When I walk into a room, I don't want to signify to the 9 people that are in the meeting, or the 15 people that are in the meeting, or the 20 people that are in the meeting. I don't want to signify to them I am not reliable and I'm not a good planner, and I don't really have my life squared away because I couldn't do the bare minimum task. The bare, and this is what we talked about with Bobby Holland too. With Bobby Holland, like, the Master Chief told me the first day I got to the SEAL team, don't be late.
Yeah.
He didn't give me all the other reasons. He didn't say, you know, it's important on time, on target. He didn't say in a tactical situation when bombs are dropping, if you're off. He didn't say any of that stuff.
Yeah.
He said, don't be late.
Yeah.
That's all he said. And what I realized is that is a core competency, and it's a, you know, Bobby and I talked a lot about reputation on that podcast as well. Like, what is your reputation? Is your reputation you're reliable, or your reputation that you're unreliable?
Yeah,
and if you can't show up on time with the right gear, bro, how am I supposed to count on you?
Yeah.
So I think that landed because I never really even thought about being on time when I was a kid, when I was in high school, when I wasn't like, gotta get to practice on time, or don't want to be late for this class. I didn't have one. I probably had an actual number 0 of times that I was thinking to myself, I don't want to be late because I don't want to damage my reputation and appear to be an unreliable person. I might have been like, oh, I don't want to get a freaking tardy slip or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
So I think it is a combination of, hey, look, just going to be on time. And then, you know, in a way, your reputation is part of the jam. And I'll tell you another thing that I'm very lucky is my wife is an on-time person.
She is.
She's not a lagger. Yeah, and I know some guys that are married to women that are not, and some men that are married, some men aren't going to be on time, and their women is, and they get freaking
reamed.
Yeah, they get the hostilities in the different direction. Do you get that a little bit?
Yes, they do. Yeah, for sure. Not all the time,
because your wife is more on the squared away side. Like, if we had a scale of being squared away and you were on one side and she was on the other, she would win.
I would say, generally speaking, let's say there's a...
if I need something from the Charles family, if I need a tax document or something, I am 100% not talking to you.
That is a good decision, yeah.
Check.
And to talk to her about that will be 100% the correct move.
It's happening.
Sure.
She's writing. I don't know if she writes it down, but in my mind, I see her writing it down, like putting it on her task list that is being executed currently.
That is correct. Yes,
yeah, squared away.
So I guess the next question would be, that's good, of course, but how much are you missing by being super dogmatic with? Because you mentioned the surfing thing, right?
Yep.
Where, you know, that idea where you kind of look back and you'd be like, man, I wish I would have done more of that.
Yep.
You know, for all these different reasons that are a lot of times they're lasting reasons too. You know,
I have some of that. I have some of that, but the fact of the matter is, I wasn't so dogmatic that I didn't surf. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, there's some days where I was like, you know what, I'm not going to surf today. But there's many more days where I was like, oh yeah, we're going to squeeze this in. We're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing.
So you're paying attention.
Yeah. So I wasn't, you know, you can meet like a career naval officer and they retire from the Navy and they didn't go surfing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exemplifying anything that was fun, adventurous, like outside the box. They didn't do any of it. And you can see it doesn't seem like it was a good call. You know, it seems like the better call would be to do cool stuff and go.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing Bobby and I talked about, was just like, always go out, you know, always go out. And again, you go on a trip. The military life is like this. Like, you go on a trip somewhere. Here's something I didn't do, is we go to some city and there's some tourist attraction that's world renowned. I'm not going. You know what I mean? I'm probably lifting, honestly. Yeah. I'm probably doing some kind of PT, and guys are like, oh, do you want to go see this such and such site? And I'm like, dude, don't care.
Yeah.
And now part of this because I don't care, and I've never looked at a picture of a site and said, wow, I can't believe I was in wherever and I didn't go see the thing.
Just to see it.
Yeah, I've never felt that one time.
I gotta say I'm with you 100%, bro. And I would rather go to Paris, France, or these exotic, places that we might think of as exotic, and be able to remember in my mind or tell to my kids or whatever that, like, I worked out in a Paris gym, more so than, I looked at the Eiffel Tower with my eyes or whatever. It's like, it's different. Of course, there's many, many exceptions. Like, it depends on who you're going with. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of times, like, on a work trip, or I don't know, you go on like something where they want to see this, and I'm like, wait, but what do you do there? He goes, no, you just look at it.
Dude, I'll go to an American city, and they'll be like, oh, are you going to spend any time? You know, you're going to, they'll be taking me to the hotel. They'll know what I'm doing, and they'll be like, are you going to get a chance to go to, and I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm going to go to the hotel gym, and I'm going to lift, and then I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to get right back on the plane and fly away. And I'm not going to be... But part of that is because I've just traveled my whole life, so I'm kind of a jaded traveler.
So let me ask you this: you personally, I know my answer, because I feel like we're on the same page with that, bro. But what if you got there and you ran into some other, like, let's say, retired, like maybe your age, maybe younger, maybe slightly, military guy. Let's say you went to Japan, right? And then there was a Japanese, like, military dude, strong, like, squared away, who was like, hey, I know you, like, you're Jocko, whatever. Hey, I work out. I'm going to work out at this gym. Only, like, fucking us, the big dogs, go there. Freaking come work out with us. Would that be more compelling?
Well, we'd be going to that.
Fuck yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Where it's like, yeah, you're not going to stand in line to get a picture of the pink flower, or the freaking yellow bush or whatever. But... bro, if you get an opportunity to really experience, like, the Japanese, in this case, the Japanese version of, like, what you really care about doing and interacting with or whatever, bro, that has massive value, I think. And it depends on who you're with, too. Like, if you're with your family and we're like, hey, we're going to go, I don't know, freaking to the Grand Canyon, and you get to see the kids be happy, and you get to freaking whatever, like, interact with them and stuff like that gets a little bit different for sure. But yeah, I'm with you, bro. Don't just go just so you can put your eyeballs on it and
bro,
get
there was
served.
nothing funnier than going to see the Great Pyramids in Egypt with my SEAL platoon when I was at Team 2. I was with Drago, and where they're like, hey, the tour guide or whatever, we're pulling up to the Great Pyramids, and they're like, okay, gents, how long do you think we need here? And I was totally serious. I'm like, 10 minutes. That's how much time I needed. And then Drago's like, I just want to see the rock cat. That's what he said about the Sphinx, dude. The rock cat, bro. The rock cat from Jocko. All right. So there we go. Next one. If you save a rogue from the gallows, he will rob you that same night. Good one to remember. Like, oh, you want to help this person out. Doesn't if they're a bad person, they don't care that they helped you out. Gotcha. They're gonna screw you over. If you swallow vice, 'twill rise badly in your stomach. Put that alcohol away. Put that donut away. It's gonna rise badly in your stomach. Gotcha. But obviously it's a metaphor as well, right? Like, what are you doing? If you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, right, they're gonna rise badly.
Yeah, just to like indulge yourself in the moment, kind of.
Yeah, but not even just just doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Like gambling isn't gonna make you sick to your stomach, but boy, it's gonna rise. That's what they're saying there. Yeah. Ingratitude is the daughter of pride. Interesting one, right? Like people that can't say thank you because they think they they deserve it.
Oh, yeah. That entitled son of a...
Like, of course I got this. You should be thanking me.
Yeah.
Next one. It is ill to take an unlawful path, but worse to keep it. Boy, that is the truth right there.
Yep. You with Lee Bob, that was these were all cool sayings, right? We're talking about. And I remember, like, so I learned these sayings. I kind of like adjusted them and came up with, but though at the end of the day, this is what I tell my kids. So I say, do the right thing, do your best, and treat others like you want to be treated. But there's a little bit more to it. So it's do the right thing, do your best. Oh, sorry. Do the right thing even when you've done wrong.
Okay.
Do your best, not try your best, do your best. And then treat others like you want to be treated. So it's kind of like this. It's ill to take the unlawful path, but worse to keep it. So that's like, do the right thing even when you've done wrong. Because nobody's perfect, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, if you've done wrong, you still got it. You still are on the hook to do right at that point. Might look different now, but you still got to do the right thing. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the big one is with kids, especially, is like, don't lie.
Yeah. That's a complete
like,
good.
You're going to get in so much more trouble when you lie. And by the way, that carries through.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before. There was a case where in Iraq, I want to say it was like 2004, these soldiers shot and killed a guy and they planted a gun on him. And if you shoot an unarmed person, you have to, you report what happened. What did you see? Why did you take that shot? And there's legitimate reasons to take that shot. The person was charging at me, looked like they might have had a weapon, looked like they were maneuvering towards friendly forces. I thought he had an S vest, like a suicide vest. Like there's a bunch of legitimate reasons. And if you state those reasons, hey, here's what I saw. I was in this position. I entered this building. The guy was standing there. He started to move towards me. I thought he had a cell phone. He had all this. It's like there's legitimate reasons where you took a shot at a person that was unarmed. And when you report that up the chain of command, they say, okay, well, what did you learn from it? How do we make sure we can train other people to make sure this doesn't happen again? What is the, what's the reaction that the person had that, how can we train people that so there's a bunch of things that will come from it.
Yeah.
But you're not going to prison.
Yeah.
When you plant a gun on someone, you're going to prison. And that's exactly what happened in this case. And the reason I remember this well is because this is when I was the admiral's aide in 2004 to 2005. I would see these cases happening and we'd hear about them. And so it was like, oh yeah, like if you take an unlawful path, don't stay on it. Get off of it. And that's the right thing to do. So
do the right thing even when you've done wrong. And technically in those situations, it's technically not even really wrong. The old, what is it? Good move, bad result or whatever.
Good shoot, bad result.
Yeah. That feels slightly. You said something, and I don't even know if you meant this as like this massive freaking groundbreaking point, but it really landed on me. Maybe it was like at the time or something, but nonetheless, it's freaking stuck as like a thing. Going forward. And you said, where do you want to end up? And then I was like, I remember thinking, bro, that freaking applies to so much long term and short term, by the way. Like, so if you're like, I don't know, you just have bad habits or you're doing something kind of wrong, but it's not that wrong, but it kind of maybe is kind of wrong, like that kind of stuff. And then, but you really just ask yourself, like consciously, okay, like cool, you're doing this, you're gambling or you're whatever, these are obvious things, but it applies to everything, by the way. It's like, where do you want to end up with this course of action? Like, where do you want to end up?
With all these courses of action, by the way.
Yeah.
With every decision that you're making.
Yeah. And good or bad, by the way.
Yeah.
So the end up is like, the bad one is the real obvious one, the one that you're like, oh yeah, like freaking, basically, it's hard to really come up with like a good answer. I mean, like a positive like result where you want to end up if you're doing something bad. So it's like, even let's say you're drinking, right? Common thing, right? We're drinking or whatever, and maybe it's not ruining your life, but it's like kind of just getting kind of in the way. Usually that's that gray area that drinking continues usually. So if you really ask yourself, where do I want to end up with this thing? you could justify it and be like, well, I'm going to quit at some point. Okay, cool. There you go. Perfect. Quit then. Because the more you don't quit, you haven't quit straight up. And you still got to ask you where you're going to end up. And you're going to end up somewhere bad. There's no good place to end up, you know? So it's like one of those things when you really ask yourself that, it's like, oh, bro, it's kind of a good little prescriptive
mantra.
Scenario. Yeah. 100.
Yeah, there's a book called To What End, written by Ward Just about the Vietnam, and it's early in Vietnam, but it's a great question to ask. Like, to what end? It's like, so what are we trying to make happen? Yeah. Because that's what, in the Vietnam War, no one in senior leadership was saying, to what end are we doing? Like, what is the end game? When do we say, okay, yep, victory declared, we can leave now? We didn't have a plan like that. We had all this nebulous stuff. And so we do that in our life where we're just going down the path, but to what end are you doing this? Yeah. Like, you're going to have some drinks tonight, some alcoholic beverage tonight. To what end? Like, same question, right? Yeah. Where do you want to end up? Like, oh, do you want to end up healthy? Do you want to end up wealthy? Do you want to end up wise? Healthy and wealthy and wise. Remember those things? Yes, tell me in what world alcohol helps with any of those in any way, shape, or form. The answer is it doesn't. So again, we're picking on alcohol, but it applies to everything. What do to what end are you doing this? So you're going out and you're buying a new freaking Cadillac, right? That you can't really afford. Well, to what end? You trying to look cool? Well, why are you trying to look cool? And you ask yourself that question enough times, you're going to realize it's going to really improve your decision-making process if you try and figure out where you're ultimately trying to go. So, yes, concur.
It hit me hard on this idea of the slippery slope scenario, which what you said right there is even more. That's even more like advanced. Like, really, I'm planning, or should I say, like, what do you call constructing my life? You know, so I can engineer success, kind of a thing. And it feels like, yeah, that's like some that's advanced tactics right there. Not necessarily advanced, but those are some like higher level tactics just to avoid the pitfalls in life that are normal, by the way. If you ask yourself that, like, where are you going to end up? That, like, as it applies to like the slippery slope scenario, because that's what gets us. Like, even just something like as seemingly benign as like not working out as much. You know, when you get family and kids, so I don't work out as much, all the way down to like I don't work out anymore. That's a slippery slope. You don't just have a kid and be like, oh well, I don't have to work out at all anymore ever. You know, that usually doesn't happen like that. It's usually like, okay, I'm gonna keep working out. It's like, oh, I don't have time. I'm a little bit tired today because of the kid. And it slowly happens. But if you recognize it, you know, and ask yourself that, like, hey, where am I gonna end up?
That is something that I think about a lot. Is like right down to a repetition of exercise. Yeah. I feel like that repetition counts in the big picture. Yeah, it counts in the big picture. Actually, I heard something. I was listening to something the other day, and a guy was talking about the number of reps you need to perform to advance in weightlifting. And it's like they have, you watch thousands of weightlifters, you can recognize, okay, this is how many repetitions you need to perform of this exercise to make this amount of improvement. But I think the same thing that you're thinking. I think like, well, I don't have to do this rep that I'm on right now, which I don't feel like doing. And if I don't feel like doing it, I can probably, like, no one's in the gym with me. Yeah. But I feel like that rep counts, man. Yeah. That rep counts. Yep.
There's an additional thing that hit me hard, and it hit me actually in a positive way. But as you kind of like get impacted, and I'm like all impressed with learning this new idea, I thought you tend to think about it more, and then I'm like, oh wait, this can happen in the negative as well, where it sets this precedent, where it had happened because I didn't get much sleep. And I was like, I was always under the impression, hey, if I didn't get enough sleep, hey, today I'm skipping the workout and I'm going to be sure I get enough rest, and then I'm going to work out hard the next day, get back on the horse, right? And I'm like, no, I'll power through it or whatever. Let me just see what I can get, whatever. It's not that big a deal, whatever. And then I went and I had a good workout and I powered through it and I was fine. I was like, wait a second. We can do this? Like, bro, we can still get a good lift on 3 hours sleep? Damn, I literally didn't know that. And now I do.
I've been telling you that for 10 years. Hey, maybe even 15, bro.
Hey, some journeys are best, But But that's in a positive way. That's a positive precedent that I just set for myself, a new one, but can be negative too. So you skip that rep or that set.
Oh yeah, that becomes a pattern.
Yeah, and then the next time it's kind of like, because you know, if you have a freaking 100% record of never skipping reps or sets, right? Because a part of you is kind of like, well, that's not what we do. Like, if I do, then what? Like, I suck and my workout's not as good, and there's all these things, right? But when you do it, and there's kind of no consequences, you know, seemingly. So the next time you get that kind of compulsion to be like, oh, I'm kind of tired, or I gotta go, or like I could be doing something else more fun, interesting, whatever, you're gonna do it again because that precedent already been set. See what I'm saying? You got to watch out for that.
Rome wasn't built in a day. It also didn't collapse in a day. It collapsed a little bit at a time. All right, next one. Kindle not the fire that you cannot extinguish. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. When you start getting engaged in things, and I think of drama when I think of this. When you start getting engaged in drama, sometimes you're not going to be able to get out of it. Like the little thing that you want to bring up to someone. And now, all of a sudden, what did you start? What kind of fire did you start? It might not be good. So that's always important to think about. Kindle not the fire you cannot extinguish. Next one. Knaves imagine nothing can be done without knavery. Right? So that's the person that's always suspicious because they're freaking acting out of line.
Wait, so this is, I feel like you know these words and I don't.
Okay.
But I feel like I've heard you say these words. Like, what's a knave?
It's just like a scoundrel, like a person that's plotting behind the scenes, you know? That's like a knave.
Okay, so knaves imagine nothing can be done without knave. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like a scoundrel doesn't think anything can be done without being a scoundrel.
Right,
So because they steal stuff, when you have something, they're like, where'd you get that from? And
Gotcha.
they think you stole it.
Yeah, it feels like the obvious answer is yes. You think that the you know how people, it's real common to hear people say, oh yeah, like massively successful people, they'll look at them, right? A person will look at a massively successful person and be like, well, how many people did he screw over to get to that position? You know, kind of that vibe.
That's the person that will screw people over to get ahead.
Yeah, the knave.
Next one. Leave not the sword in the hand of an idiot. Okay, you know what? We say, of course not. But how often, like, you got a project, you got something going on, and you put someone in a position when they shouldn't be in that position, and they're an idiot. They're not going to do smart things.
Right.
People that are idiots don't become smart miraculously overnight. People that have a pattern of doing dumb things are going to continue to do dumb things. So one must use caution when you're dealing with idiots.
You ever think about that idea of the saying is something along the lines of don't attribute malice. I think it is malice to incompetence. Yeah. So that's kind of the same vibe as well, right? Where it's like you give an idiot a sword, he's going to kind of start cutting some people. And it looks like this motherfucker's just kind of cutting people, but it's like he just doesn't know how to use it, you know?
He's just dropping it and slipping with it.
Incidentally cutting people, you know, kind of a thing. And then people think that he's ruining things on purpose, but it's like, well, no, he just doesn't know how to not ruin things because he's an idiot, as the case may be.
Next one's a classic we should remember. Little things affect little minds. And this is when we get all wrapped up about letting something bother us. It's like, well, this doesn't bother me. I'm not going to let that bother me. It shouldn't bother you. So don't let little things affect little minds. Be a big-minded person, and then little things don't really bother you. Pretty good advice. I guess the thing to think about though is, you know, doing the little things right. You know, it's like being late. Being late could be considered a little thing by some people, right? And I hate to be harping on this, but there's many examples like that. Make sure you do the little things right. It's not that you shouldn't be concerned with little things, but little things out in the world, little slings and arrows that hit you. Don't worry about them too much. They're not going to bother you. They're not going to sticks and stones. Yeah, they're not. Don't let them get in your head.
Back to the being late thing. Because I'm still, let's face it, I'm trying to settle.
Just to say this, even though I hassle you about being late, you know, it's a running joke, let's say, but you actually have probably only actually been late. How many times do you think?
I don't know, 5.
5 times in 10 years. That's
all with a heads up too, but
that's not a bad record. So, and these are usually by like 2 minutes and I'm still hassling you. So even though I harass you a lot now listen, if we wanted to talk about jiu-jitsu, which is where you got the reputation for being late, is a whole different thing.
Yes.
It's a whole different thing. Yeah. That's why I originally would hassle you about being late, because we would, some people skip the warm-ups.
Yes.
Bro, you would not only skip the warm-ups, you'd skip a lot of stuff. And then you roll in, bro. Yeah. I'm on round 4 of the open mat time, which is now 20 minutes deep, but the class started an hour ago. Now you're rolling into the train.
Sometimes. Yeah.
So you think I'm going to hassle you about being late? You're damn right I am. So
yes,
that's where your true reputation of being late. But as far as your work ethic, you've only been late 5 times in 10 years, which is a pretty good record. So
yes.
I harass you about it, but yeah, here we go. So with that,
thank you for that. And if I wasn't at this current state in regards to my opinion of being late, you would have took a step backwards for my progress by just basically saying, hey, no, you're not that bad. Essentially, that's what you said. You're not that bad, right? Yeah. I would have been like, oh, sweet. But I'm okay. So this is how I would think of it. Actually,
you cut it close a lot.
I'm threading that needle 100%. You're right. And it's because of the philosophy, which I said many, many times. So, and not to put too fine a point on it, but I actually, in the spirit of accuracy, I actually developed a reputation of being late at work when I used to work at the club. I'd be 1 minute, 2 minutes late. Oh, frick yeah, all the time. I used to get kind of scolded and talked to by it, but I knew that it didn't matter. Like me coming in 4 minutes late, let's say, literally doesn't affect nothing. Doesn't make the club less money. Just because the guy before me is like annoyed that he can't leave 4 minutes. Like to me, that didn't move me either way. I didn't mean to do it, kind of thing. So anyway, whatever.
Screw that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Put it this way, I would never be mad at that. I think that's a weak thing to get mad at.
It's like a little thing.
Yeah, it's a small thing. Exactly right. Look, if there's a bigger picture, okay. But I failed to identify any bigger picture. Here's the bigger picture. So I always have looked at it like, hey, is it always that big a deal? Is it? Literally in real life. Because you're in the military, which that's different. That trains you way different.
Yeah, being late in real life doesn't matter many times.
Yeah, exactly right.
So I'm like if we're going to dinner and we're going to meet at 7:00 with our wives, and I get there at 6:58 and you show up at 7:02, we still have a reservation. We're still going to go eat. No one's going to say anything much.
Yeah. Well, you might because you're in the military. Perfect. You, Jocko, invites me over for the UFC. Hey, main card starts at 7, and that's when kind of like people are gonna like be there at 7. I come in at 7:15, 3 minutes into the freaking first fight after all the intros and shit. Who cares? Really, who cares? Yeah. So, and there's a lot of circumstances where like being late is not that big a deal. But here's the thing. Here's what I failed to really like understand and embrace. Being on time is never 0% a big deal as far as being negative. Being on time is always good. There are very few circumstances, planning wise anyway, that being on time is a bad thing because you're on time. Yeah. But, and so I'm going to go back to one, this is just a fun little exercise where I would justify being okay with being late. You know how like someone says, oh yeah, we're having a party at my house, right? I'm just a little thing. We'll whatever. It's going to start at 2 in the day. And I'm like, no, I'm ahead of time, dude. Roll up at 1:45, right? 15 minutes, not crazy. I'm going to come in at 1:45. Meanwhile, you get there and they're not ready to receive guests yet. Someone's still cleaning up. They're wiping the counter. They're putting away the trash that they're setting up or whatever. You put more stress on that person if you didn't come on time or fashionably late. See what I'm saying? So I used to justify myself like that too a lot of the time, where I'm like, well, no, like maybe being late kind of can be good sometimes. You see what I'm saying? And then just incorporate it as the philosophy in general. See what I'm saying?
Bad philosophy.
Bad. Being on time is never a bad thing. That's it. At the end of the day, no matter how you slice it, being on time is not a bad thing.
Check. Next one. Little strokes fell great oaks. Those little things take you down. Little tiny things. Death of 1,000 cuts, they say. Man punishes the action, but God the intention. Intention is very important in things. Very important things. Like, why did you actually do this? What was the reason for you doing this? Malice is poisoned by its own venom. True statement. There's a lot of faith in these proverbs that kind of like you're going to get what's coming to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And quite frankly, I agree with that. And I don't agree with it from like a karmic type, you know, unseen hand.
Right.
But like, you screw people over, it's going to come back to you. You treat people badly, it's going to come back to you. You do things that you shouldn't be doing, it's going to come back to you. Like, that's the reality.
It's like, that's the mechanics of how the world works. And yeah, man, and that is true, especially like, because the world is full of people, you know?
Yes.
So like, you can even know that this is against the rules, the world is still going to behave that way. Like for example, you know how I feel like dads embrace this more than moms, but you know, like, okay, a kid hits your kid. So a lot of the time the dad's going to be like, bro, hit him back. Here's why we're compelled to feel that. Even if we don't say it, we'll feel that, you know, because that's how the world works. If you go around stepping on people's feet, bro, it's like immediately, if not just a matter of time before someone starts stepping on your feet as well. See what I'm saying? Like, that's literally how and that's kind of, and it applies to everything. So it's like, yeah, when you say you're going to get what's coming to you, yeah, 100%, because that's literally how the world works.
Yes, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Many talk like philosophers and live like fools. It's a good one. This is the unfortunate reality. Many of the things that we're talking about even right now are easier said than done.
Yes, sir.
And people like to say them, but they don't do them. Much better never catch a goose than let him go again. Much better to never catch a goose than to let him go again. And when I read that one, I was kind of curious because as a modern human, I didn't quite fully understand the value of a goose, right? You'd think you'd say something like, it's better to never have gold than to have to give it away. But they say goose. Okay. And as I dug down on it, geese are very valuable for a multitude of reasons. They make eggs, they have meat, they have down, like, they have fat, which is good for preserving things. And believe it or not, they're guards. Like, they'll guard your property and make noise if someone's coming up and get in their face. So, hey, you're rolling your eyes.
No, I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm actually laughing because I know that firsthand. I know 100%. Our neighbor had a goose.
Oh, there you go.
This thing was freaking hostile. It was a hostile goose. It was great.
Check. And what they're saying here is, this is kind of like, I guess if I was trying to translate, it's better to never have gone in business class on a plane than to go there for a while and then have to go back.
Wait, say that again. It's better to not have gone to business class on a plane.
Yep. Like, once someone's been in business class, now you got to get stuffed back in economy. And people are like, oh my God, this is terrible. Bro, until you know about business class, you're like, whatever. This is the way it is. We're back there in the cheap seats. My legs are a little cramped up. There's no power outlet.
It's just how
somebody's elbowing you the whole time. Yeah. That's just the way travel is.
The way it is.
You know? Yeah. So that's kind of a similar thing. Yeah. That they're saying here, you know, it's better just to like, but do I agree with that? I don't think I agree with it, because I think you should be, all right, well, I had the goose. I liked it. Right. I'm going to get it back. Yeah. So I think it's all right, but I can understand how I can definitely see that it is much harder to have to give up wealth than it is to not have ever had wealth. Yeah. Right? If you're someone that, you know, if you had your own room in your apartment and you're stoked.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Then you have to get a roommate. Yeah. It's a bummer. But if you always had a roommate, you don't think anything of it. Just like, hey, of course you got a roommate, helps with the rent, all good. Yep. Oh, we got to, argue or share the one bathroom. Yeah, no big deal. You just used to it. Right. So.
Yeah, that's really the whole story, right? Is getting used to it. Essentially, like that's the new standard or whatever. And you said this early on with it, like with dealing with people, it's easier to give them slack and take it away, or what it is like with
easier.
slack.
It's easier to give people slack than it is to take it back.
Yeah.
So if I go, hey, Echo, show up whenever you want, and you're like, cool, and that's how we roll for a while, and then all of a sudden one day I'm like, hey, you got to be here at 7.
Yeah.
you don't feel comfortable with that at all.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, hey, okay, you start work tomorrow. Hey, be here at 7. You're like, okay, that's what we're doing. And then after 6 months, I go, hey, you know what? Whenever you can come in on Fridays, just show up. Just as long as you get your work done, you're kind of stoked. You're happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes.
So
It's much easier to give slack.
Yeah. And that just as an individual concept, that feels right. 100%.
Next one, and that's why when you hear like Leif talk about meeting me, him and Stoner, and I'm like not talking to him or not smiling, not joking around.
Right.
It's like, dude, I need to get to know you.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a chance when I meet my 2 platoon commanders, there's a chance 1 or 2 of them are getting fired. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know these guys. I don't know what their background is. I mean, I know that they both are relatively new in the teams. They both have 1 deployment under their belt. They've done an assistant platoon commander, and now they're showing up to be a platoon commander. You might be getting fired. I don't know that. Hey, chances are only 10% that you're getting fired, but I don't want to bro out with you and then be firing you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm going to be measured, and I'm going to give slack over time. I'm not just going to welcome you aboard with a bunch of freaking slack.
Yeah. But you did bring up a good point, because under certain types of situations, it's actually better because the standard gets raised in a way. So if you can kind of like remember that as like, what do you call the anchor of the standard, now you have like kind of something in a psychological way pulling you back towards the standard. Actually, in working out, it's if you apply that concept where it's like muscle memory, right? So if your body gets to a point where you can, I don't know, as far as weightlifting or whatever, if you can like squat 400 and then, you get injured or something like this and you have to, and yeah, that sucks when you got to get back after rehab and get on, you can only do like 185 or whatever. That sucks.
But your body knows.
But it's better for your body to be familiar with that 400 and you can get there quicker. You see what I'm saying? So under those types of circumstances, even though that pain, I think that's what they're talking about here. That pain of like, shoot, if I never could squat 400, if I always could squat 185 and then I get after rehab, I can still do 185. Hell yeah, I'm good to go. So you don't have to experience that pain. But the bigger picture, it kind of can like establish like a standard that you can easily like kind of navigate to.
We can bring you back.
Yeah.
Next one. Of all vices, pride calls the loudest. This is why we say humility is the most important quality for a leader, for a person. It's just the worst vice you can have is that arrogance. Once a wolf, always a wolf. Once a knave, always a knave. People don't really change too much. Be careful. One danger is seldom overcome without another. Something to keep in mind. Trade-offs, as Thomas Sowell says, right? Like there's no just winning completely. There's just trade-offs.
So the danger thing is so sometimes we'll get into actually not recently. It's been decades probably, but I get into these little back and forths with my wife about the kids and like so it's like, okay, I remember when my daughter was young. She'd walk. We have this pool, and there's that wall that you can jump off into the pool. It's like it's not super high, but it's maybe 6 feet, maybe I don't know. And she would go up there, and she didn't know how to swim yet. She was like 1.5 maybe, and she'd like want to walk up there. She'd see us, and she'd want to walk, and my wife would flip out, of course, seemingly, of course. But I would be like, part of me is like kind of let her, because now she's going to be very familiar with being up there. Look, she falls in, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to save her. It's no problem. My eyes are on, But she's familiar with being up there. Now she's comfortable. Her balance is starting to develop more, like all this stuff or whatever. Her developing her balance, developing familiarity with being up on that wall keeps her safe. Like her capability that she gains keeps her safer, right? Yeah. But the trade-off is, hey, if she's never up there in danger, she's safe. See what I'm saying? So there's that safety trade-off kind of a scenario.
If she falls off the wall, she falls into the water?
In the water, yeah.
Okay. This might be not the best example for you to choose. Okay. Because the reason I say that is because if for whatever reason you guys aren't around.
Oh, and she ventures up there.
She knows to venture up the wall, or she feels safe up there, and then she falls in the water. Now we gotta terrible situation.
Yes.
So that might not be the best example.
Yeah, maybe. And look, we could add a bunch of these external scenarios and exceptions to any particular example for sure. But generally speaking,
that's a pretty clear one.
Okay, conceptually,
I don't think I'm getting crazy on that.
No, I don't think so either. Let's say jujitsu, because that was another one. Where it's like the more you go to jujitsu, the more dangerous it becomes as far as like probability of injury and like all this stuff, just because of the reps.
Yeah.
The more days you're exposed to this or whatever, just like anything, right? But the more jujitsu you know, kind of the safer you are outside of jujitsu.
Yeah,
See what I'm saying? So it's like this weird trade-off.
Yep.
In that way.
The other thing that's weird about kids is, man, your kids can get hurt doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like walking to school, getting in a car with someone, like things can happen. Yeah. And if you bubble wrap them, they're not gonna be safe in a bunch of other scenarios. Right. So
yeah, same deal.
One ill weed mars a whole pot of porridge. Okay. And there's a couple here in a row. One lie makes many. So those two are in the same thing. But then they had one that says one mad action is not enough to prove a mad man. So these are kind of contradictory. And I have to say, I'm not sure I 100% agree with any of them. Obviously the one, if someone's a liar, if someone lies, chances are they're going to lie again. So I think that one we can carve out and be like, yep, one lie, you're suspect. I think that one, if someone does something that's a little bit crazy, there's a lot of things that can cause that. Like, person makes a bad decision, makes a rash decision. Okay, we're a little bit suspect, but it's not the same as a lie to me. If you lost your temper, it's not the same as you lying. You losing your temper is your intention wasn't to lose your temper. You just lost your temper. I'm like, all right, I understand. Okay, Echo's got a bad temper. When you lie, that seems to be a little bit different. So
yes, I think you're right, given what you're saying.
Now, that being said, if you're a person that lost your temper and now you're a guy that loses your temper, probably pretty accurate.
It felt like, and I could be wrong, obviously, it felt like they were saying the lie part of it and even the other one. The lie part of it is like, I'm saying in a line of like statements we'll say. Let's say I'm interrogating you. In that interrogation process, then one lie makes a bunch of lies subsequently. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm like, hey, Jocko, were you in the parking lot behind the store at this time? You say no, and I keep questioning you, bro. Everything else is probably going to be a lie because it's based on that no. But I'm like, oh wait, this isn't you then? You got to say no. I'm like, okay, then what were you doing? No, there's another lie. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you can't tell, like, that one lie was kind of like in a line of like questioning or whatever. It's just all lies now. Yeah. Just like crimes, right? Like let's say I'm driving drunk, or let's say I robbed a bank, right? Robbed a bank. I'm in my getaway car.
Damn, we went from driving drunk to robbing a bank. All
right. Well, I've seen this on like Cops or back in the day. A guy was fleeing the scene of the crime that he committed. Maybe it was bank robbery, whatever. We'll say it's a bank robbery. He's fleeing the scene. Now everything he does is a crime. Everything. It's all his fault. So if someone like rear ends him, let's say you stopped at a cop light, someone rear ends him or whatever, you have a little traffic jam, he shouldn't have committed that crime. So that's a crime as well. It's always going to be his fault. See what I'm saying? So now he has all these additional crimes that he's committed that wouldn't be crimes if he didn't rob that bank. See what I'm saying? So it's kind of like almost like that format.
Yeah. And this leads kind of into the next one, which is passion is the enemy of truth. Yeah, I think what passion does is it warps what you see as the truth. You see this a lot when, especially in the for lack of a better way of saying it, like the political world where people are having political discussions or arguments or debates, and I'm so passionate about something that I can't even recognize the truth anymore. That definitely happens.
Do you feel like in regards to like this way of saying it, do you feel like passion and conviction are like the same thing? Or
yeah, they're closely related.
Yeah, I always felt like people who are so convicted, which is, I guess there's passion in there, but I feel like that was like the deal. Like the bad good? Deal. The bad deal. Where it's like the more convict, like how you always say, like, the thing you always say where you're like, how many times do you think I have to admit when I'm wrong? Right? You know that spiel. It's the opposite of that, essentially, right? So when you're convicted, you're like, what do you call, bunkered in, or
totally bunkered into your position.
Yeah,
it can be so. It's such a good. Somebody made a clip of me saying this the other day, where I said, when someone insults you, just agree with them, and it's not like just agree with them like arbitrarily, but actually say, yeah, you know what, it's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a good point. You're making a good point there. I agree.
Yeah. You got to have
because there's some level of, and the more it stings you, the more it's probably right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you're already good. I mean, whether you worked on this or not, it's just talent. I don't know. But you're better at kind of recognizing this. Because, like, if you were to be like, I am like kind of emotionless for a little bit, and someone says, hey, I don't know, whatever, your haircut is this, or you're short, or you're fat, or you're whatever, they give you like some insult or whatever. If you're emotionless, you can be like, analyze it like a computer. We'd be like, wait a sec, I kind of am. I didn't think I was fat, but maybe compared to this person, I'm fat. So yeah, it checks out. You see what I'm saying? So you're kind of like,
move right there.
But you can do that. Most people, the emotion and the passion is kind of mixed in there, so it like gets in the way.
But to your point, you just said something like, you practice it. It's like, dude, that stuff used to bother me. Like some little insult, be like, dude, what the hell? Like, I'd like to see you do it. Like that whole thing.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's actually, I guess I'm not an expert in that area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, Jocko thinks he's a military expert just because he was just because he led only 50 SEALs. That's a good point. Yeah, I'd never led a battalion. That's a good point. There's definitely some aspects that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Boom.
Easy money.
Yeah. Like, that's way better than, well, you know what? And it's like, no. Well, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I agree. Boom. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Don't see very much of that type of activity.
Yeah. Isn't that so crazy how, this is it, right? Passion is it's so obvious. And, like how you say in this outfit, being detached, it's like you can see things clear and all this stuff. But isn't it so interesting how it's like, it's so obviously the correct answer.
Yeah.
Like there's almost, it's very hard to imagine where it's not the correct answer in any given circumstance, right? Where it's like so obvious, right? Yeah. Be humble, like, and the outcome of being humble versus not being like, it's like, it's so obvious, but it's like so hard.
Crazy. Next one. Peace begins where ambition ends. I can't argue with that, really, honestly. I would say the things that, when you're trying to get to the next level, you're trying to make things happen. It's like, there's not much peace in your life. Pride is at the bottom of all great mistakes. Ain't that the truth? Punishment comes slowly, but it comes. That's another, again, they're very, these proverbs rely on that outcome moving inevitably towards punishment.
Were you the one that said choose your hard? Was that your quote?
No, that's someone else's quote.
Oh, okay. So the choose your hard, and this applies to everyday life.
Yeah.
So this is like, let's say health, for example. Choose your hard. So the workout's hard. Like, or it can be hard. Let's just say, for lack of, it's hard, right? Workout is hard. Abstaining from junk food when the junk food is delicious and in front of you is hard. Yeah. That takes effort. It's hard, right? Now the result of that is freaking easy. It's bliss. All this stuff. Being healthy is easy.
Strong.
Yeah. I'm not saying the act of like getting healthy, like that part. I'm saying you're existing as a healthy person is easy.
Well, in fact, what you just said, the act of being healthy is hard.
Yes.
But it beats the alternative hard, which is being unhealthy, which is very hard.
Right. So that's what I mean by choose your hard. So it's like the act of maintaining your health and blah, blah, blah. That part, exercise, all what it takes to be healthy is hard. But the state of healthiness, existing as a healthy person, just existing healthily, whatever, is easy. It's one of the easiest things probably ever. No pain, freaking brain is all clear, no inflammation in your throat from being, having strep throat or whatever you got. But then you flip it around, right? Where it's like, being the state of being unhealthy is hard. but you don't got to go through those hard workouts. You don't have to abstain from these delicious food. Like, that part is easy. That's the easy part. So it's like, right, you got to choose your hard. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. One is voluntary, the other one is involuntary, by the way. You know, which I think is very important.
Yeah, that is true.
Rashness is not valor. Okay. Rashness brings misfortune to many. Yep. Rash decisions. Just take a beat. Reason deceives us often, conscience never. Yeah, we can reason anything. At least some people can. You know, I can explain to you. I've worked with people who one of their biggest faults was how good they were at convincing people. Mm-hmm. Like, I can come into this room and convince you of something that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm so persuasive in my language and my voice and my words that even though I'm wrong, you think I'm right, and we all go and execute my plan, which is stupid.
Yep. Oh yeah, or people who can do it to themselves. You know,
for sure.
Basically rationalize which we all.
Yeah, they did that walking in the room. Like they convinced themselves all that. Selfishness is the greatest curse of the human race. Yeah, and I think if you break that down a little bit, if you're doing stuff for yourself, it doesn't work out well. Like, it'll be okay for a little while, but eventually, if you're doing stuff for yourself, it's not going to be a good long-term plan. Shallow men believe in luck. Shallow brooks are noisy. I like that one.
Oh, right. They kind of play off each other.
Yeah. Well,
what you're saying?
Yeah. No, they don't. I don't think they play off each other. Shallow men believe in luck. It's like, oh, you just got lucky. No, it actually took a lot of hard work. It took planning, and it took premeditation of what I'm going to go and execute. Like that was not luck. Shallow men go, you're just lucky. So that's one. Shallow brooks are noisy. Just meaning like the person that doesn't have much depth. They're yapping.
Talking a lot. Yes. Gotcha.
Yapping is the new word, right?
New terminology.
Yeah,
Okay.
terminology.
All right.
Bringing that from the front lines of the youth right now. You're yapping. Suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. Isn't that a good one?
Yep.
Isn't that a good one?
Bro, there's a have you heard of Chase Hughes?
No.
I guaranteed you've seen him. 100% guaranteed. But so he's like terribly sorry to forget his like job, his thing, but he's like like these interrogator type person. People know like about psychology and what people say and body language, like the whole deal, right?
Okay.
So he said something where it's like which applies to this, where it's like what is it? The guilty
suspicion always haunts the guilty mind.
Yeah. So when you interrogate somebody and they're guilty or innocent, this will kind of show itself, and he'll say it's like a tactic. So he says, you don't ask them did they do it or didn't do it. Okay, Jocko, were you in the parking lot? At this time because there was a crime, a murder, whatever. You don't say, hey, were you in the parking lot? You say this: is there any reason that 3 people might have said that you were in that parking lot at that time? Is there any reason 3 people would say that? And if you're guilty, you'd be like, blah, 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 blah. You'd behave way differently than if you were innocent. If you really weren't in the parking lot, I'd be like, no, I don't know. Freaking, I don't know. That's dumb. Like you'd behave way different. But if you're guilty, they didn't say were you there or not. They just plant this seed of this
suspicion.
Yeah, suspicion, because of like, your mind has to kind of like venture off into the, into that no man's land.
Nice.
Yeah.
The assistance of fools only brings injury. The bow that is always bent slackens or breaks. It's a good one. Can't be ready all the time. Sometimes you got to have that rest day, as Echo Charles likes to focus on quite a bit.
Recovery is part of the gig for sure.
The bully is always a coward. And then right following that one, the coward reckons himself cautious. I'm just trying to keep it,
Oh, right.
Trying to be cautious. Bro, we're doing this. Well, actually no. Coward. The devil can cite scripture for his own purpose. Ooh. Didn't think of that one, did you? Boy, that's an accurate one. The devil can cite scripture for his own purpose. The fool that eats until he is sick must fast until he is well. Check.
Wait, where we talk about that idea? I think it might have been with Lee Bob. I think it might be. Might have been with Carrie. That like this idea where like ruining. No, this was in the underground. Sorry, do wicked people have redemption or whatever? Right. I spent my life being basically a bad person, right? But now I'm literally a good person, right? But everyone seems to think I'm still this bad person. Like, what's the? You got to kind of do the same thing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you need to. If you spent 25 years being a bad person, bro, you got at least 25 years to build that reputation in the other direction. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of the same thing. It is the same thing.
We called that one on the Underground podcast. One aw crap eliminates 100 attaboys.
Yeah.
So that means when you have done 100 attaboys, you got to do 10,000. Or sorry, when you've done 100
aw
shuckses, you got to do 10,000 attaboys to dig yourself out of a hole. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
The gains of the wicked bring short-lived pleasures. Yep. This is the one that when we started these podcasts, when I started with Carrie, I was like, there's one of these things in here that I go, wow, okay. This one is, the German may be a good fellow, but it is better to hang him.
Damn.
Bro. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's when you realize that they're trying to dehumanize the enemy.
Yeah.
Might be a good fellow, but it's better to hang him.
Right. Yeah, if you saw, I put it this way. I understand why they chose this at this time for this particular, document. Mm-hmm. But if you replace the German with the enemy, it starts to make a little bit more appropriate sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That one kind of threw me a little bit. I was like, okay, well, these guys are going to war. The Lord shall destroy the house of the proud. Mm-hmm. The fool is busy in everyone else's business but his own. Oh, yeah.
Yep, I feel that.
The greatest barkers are always the least doers. Quit running your mouth. The loquacity, which is talking a great deal, is a lecture to the wise. So if you're talking a bunch, it's like, maybe be quiet. The prince that is feared by many must of necessity fear many. Yep. Now, how'd you climb to the top? Did you climb to the top stepping on a bunch of people's backs? And you better watch your back.
Yeah.
If you climb to the top through hard work and good partnerships, you'll be all right. You don't have to look over your shoulders so much. You have to look over check your six so often. The prince that is feared by many must of necessity fear many. The wise man knows he knows nothing. The fool thinks he knows it all. They hurt themselves that wrong others. Cool. Yep. Hurting other people. Think you can get away with it. You can't. It's coming back. Punishment might be slow, but it's coming. Thou art as to like to obtain thy wish as the wolf to eat the moon. Can't just wish for things. You got to go out and make them happen. You're not going to obtain your wish. You got to go do something.
Gotcha.
'Tis a sign of an ill cause to rail at your adversary.
What is rail?
It's like being hostile towards, attacking verbally type thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Ranting against them.
Oh, right.
I guess would be. I didn't look up the definition of rail, but that's what I'll give it.
Yeah, that's the.
'Tis the sign of an ill cause to rail at your adversary. I think that's when when Echo says, "Hey, I think we should invest money in this marketing campaign," and I say, "Dude, you're stupid." You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like an ad hominem attack. If I'm attacking you. To pay one in his own coin. I think that's like giving someone a taste of their own medicine.
Gotcha.
That's like when someone like when a Foot Locker gets foot locked.
Yeah.
They're getting paid in their own coin. That sucks. Dean Lister always tries to get me to Kimura. It's like his goal.
Just freaking, embracing this.
Yeah, he wants to pay me in my own coin. The mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty shall be humbled. Fair enough. The selfish man cuts away the sand from under his own feet. Again, that's the important one to remember, because when we're being selfish, we think we're doing things ourselves, but we're actually removing the sand from our own feet. When I take a little from you and I take a little bit from her and I take a little bit from him, I feel like I'm taking it from you, but ultimately it's going to be my downfall. The truth is always the strongest argument. Doesn't that work well? The truth, man, just stands on its own. The triumphing of the wicked is short. That's one you got to pay attention to. And this is another thing. When you can, I talked about this with Jordan Peterson yesterday. And I was saying that, listen, the tyrannical people can get promoted. You can rise up through your company when you're backstabbing people. It can happen. But to the point here, it's short. Like, it will run out. One of the things he pointed out was these big giant companies, they have a life cycle, and it's like 30 years. Like a big giant corporation, the life cycle average of a big giant corporation is 30 years. Because what happens? They start focusing just on profit 100% and screwing over people and not taking care of their workers and not taking care of the environment. They start making mistakes. And when you do that, look, you win. You win for 10 years, 15 years, but eventually people go, oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah. So the triumphing is of the wicked, it happens. Look, in the military, it definitely happens. And one of the reasons it happens in the military is because people have their job in a leadership position for 2 years. And then you can hang on for those 2 years, and then you're off. You get the good evaluation because the guys were working hard despite your bad leadership. They were still getting the job done. And so you still look good. And towards the end, they were ready to mutiny you, but they knew that all they had to do was hold on for 3 more months, and you'll be gone, and we'll be on to the next guy. So they don't care. They let you go. It's easier for them just to go, all right, we're going to wait till Echoes leaves this command, and we'll be fine. Yeah. And so you go, you get a good evaluation, you get promoted. So it happens. But you'll continue, and eventually it's going to catch you.
That company corporations thing is a good example. So think of it. What I will think of it from time to time as, like, let's say I'm a company, I offer, I don't know, law services, right? And then I'm like, oh wait, freaking, I can start just increasing the price, right? It's like where I got people kind of at their weakest point or whatever. Law service, that's not a good example, but so where I'm the only act in town, so I can just take advantage, right? And start freaking gouging people, price, doing all this stuff or whatever. Not customer service sucks or whatever. It doesn't matter because I'm the only guy in town, and people are just going to suck it up. I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever. But in the meantime, everyone's looking, just praying, just hunger for this, like, a better solution. And actually, and I don't even care how much better, just better, because this is just like, we're hurting here, right? And it's the only choice we got. So what that does is it opens up just massive opportunity for these little ones or another big one or whatever. All they got to do is improve it just by this much, because this guy is this corporate is so selfish. It's so bad. It's so wicked, as it were. Yeah. And then so you get one, like, remember Geico? Remember that? Remember when they first came out? Yeah. So they were like, oh yeah, this is like, it's cheaper. And there was like a slogan, 15 minutes or less or something like this. Whereas basically they just took like one or two of the main problems that people have with, I think it was car insurance. And they were like, hey, it's cheaper, faster. What up? And I was like, freak yeah, Geico all day. No, slowly, in my experience, because I use them, slowly they started increasing their price. They're very comparable to other insurance or whatever, or maybe the other insurance came down, but either way. But I'm just saying, people are like yearning for this new solution, so it brings so much opportunity for competitors to come and just be successful. And then now you're kind of in the failure.
So do the right thing for the right reasons. The villains obey their passions as slaves do their masters. So Can't just follow your passions. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. The wolf changes his hair, but not his nature. There's a lot of that. There's definitely a lot that the nature of a person doesn't change. That's very heavy in this. There shall be no reward for the evil man. That which is crooked cannot be made straight. No, we answered a question on the underground and I think the way we answered it disagrees with that. That people can redeem themselves, and I know people that have redeemed themselves, and they've gotten on the correct path, the righteous path in life.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, like I think this kind of goes without saying, but this is like a general. It feels like a general. This is a general thing, generally speaking. But on an individual level, I think you're right that a person can literally be a bad person and then change and literally be a good person. Like that can actually happen. But I think that it's kind of a good point to recognize, like when you do hear about this, right? Where this guy's a bad person, he went to prison, blah, blah, blah. And then now he's like a good person and does this good stuff. It stands out so much. It makes such an impact on us where I'm like, oh my God, everyone's so like impressed, and rightly so. But that just kind of is a testament to how rare it is, Because if that was happening like half the time, people would be like, cool, you're like half of people in the world, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's rare, for sure. There's no contending against destiny. It's coming. To the wicked, misfortune comes triple. Treason doth never prosper. Tricky comes back to its master. Yeah. Tyranny is far the worst of treasons. Unhang one that is hanged, and he will hang thee. Kind of already got that one. Unlimited power corrupts the possessor. We've heard that type of thing before. It is certainly an aspect that everyone needs to watch out for. Ulcers cannot be cured that are concealed. Got to bring that problem to light. When you hide that thing, it's not going to get fixed.
Yeah.
Take ownership of it. Let's bring it out there in the light so it can get cured. Vengeance. Vengeance is without foresight. Vices are seldom single. This is, I think it was Chad Robichaux that we had on when he was talking about when they were looking for human traffickers, and you just like start finding a drug dealer, and you just start pulling that thread, and eventually you'll get to the damn human trafficker. Yeah. So it's probably pretty accurate. Vices are learned without a teacher. It's interesting. That's interesting, but it really does accelerate a vice when people are around to introduce it. Yeah. And it's I see so much these days. You can see how malleable people's minds are. People, and I'm talking about the human race, like people, minds are so malleable. You can see it happen online, right? You see these people getting turned into extremist ways. They're getting radicalized from watching videos on their phone. Yeah. Right? I mean, this is a real thing. Yep. And if you think about it, if you can change your perception to the point where you go and do something violent that is going to ruin your life, ruin someone else's life and your own life, and you got that way from watching videos on your iPhone, shows you how malleable people's brains are. And so that's why I think, even though it says vices are learned without a teacher, like when you have someone to teach you those vices, it's going to be much more rapid fall down that path of destruction. Yeah.
And I think that's for or it feels like what this document meant is, you don't need a teacher to fall into vices kind of a thing, you know?
Totally agree.
Whereas the opposite, if you want, if you want to learn something very constructive and beneficial long term, it's kind of like, well, you kind of need a teacher. You can't just fumble about and wind up in successful, skilled.
That's a very good point, because human beings will go with the path of least resistance often, and the path of least resistance often is not the right path to take.
Yeah, it's like that human nature, like freaking short, the shortest of terms. Mm-hmm. As far as payoffs go.
Vice often borrows the color of a virtuous deed. Violent delights have violent ends. Yeah. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
Right there. Vipers breed vipers. It's weird how that can go. You can have the person who's, dad was an alcoholic. He becomes an alcoholic, or dad was an alcoholic, doesn't drink. There are vipers don't necessarily breed vipers. They might often breed vipers.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily breed vipers.
Yeah.
Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished. What is born of the serpent never loses its poison. What is more cruel than a tyrant's ear? What I like about that one is this is like when some rat, if someone's telling a tyrant something, like you can get a tyrant so spun up. You know what I mean? Like some tyrannical leader saying, hey, Echo Charles was really questioning your commands earlier, bro. Nothing more violent than a tyrant's ear. Echo's going down.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
When the root is worthless, so is the tree. Okay? When a man is angry, his reason rides out. Yeah. Anger does not help you make good decisions. Where there is whispering, there is lying. It's a good one. Isn't it weird? You ever see your kids are whispering at the dinner table or whatever?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I could imagine, yeah.
It's like, oh, you can imagine, because that doesn't happen.
No whispering allowed.
Okay, because if there's
under
whispering, there's lying.
Yeah, well, hey, look. A lot of these, there's many exceptions to a lot of this. But, for you, if you, Jocko, sat here in broad daylight, told me, hey, these are just rules of thumb, I'd agree.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's exceptions to that. I mean, quite frankly, I think some people, in my experience, a lot of people, depends on what you mean by a lot, but people sometimes are not ready for the truth, Yet the truth has to kind of be out to some degree for, to make things happen a lot of the time. And perhaps some people are just not ready for the truth, So, hey, man, sometimes whispering is a form of protection, empathy, kind of that. That can be part of the gig. Let's face it. That's why privacy is important. Like, if me and you are like, if we're going through like classified stuff, okay, like for in real life, classified stuff. Why is it classified? Why shouldn't everyone know if everything's on the up and up, right? It's like, bro, not everyone's ready for like the actual truth,
Well,
sometimes.
Yeah, no. Well, there's a lot of stuff right now that's a big consideration, right? And this is kind of a counterpoint, bro. Like whether it's the Epstein files, right? The people that paid Epstein, or that Epstein was supplying underage girls to, like, why is that not being made public? Yeah. Now you could say we can't handle the truth, or that's why there's whispering, but it's like
this might be a lying scenario.
Yeah. Well, and I think more important, it's like the truth has to come out.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Just what the hell is going on?
Yep.
Why would you not release this information?
Yeah. So keep in mind, I agree.
I'm way more inquisitive about why they're not releasing the information as to who's the people are. So
yeah, I'm with you, and I'm with you. And as far as this concept goes, I think, oh yeah, there's lying going on when there's whispers. I'm not denying that. Hell yeah, all day. But a lot of time there's another explanation as well. So I'm saying a lot of time, are you going to, all the things you talk about with your wife, especially when you're younger, are the kids ready to hear all that?
Yeah, no.
Probably not. And I'm not saying all people are kids, but in a way, conceptually they are. You know, like if you don't know how a certain thing works and you hear a certain element of that thing, some people might be put off by it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's like a version of concealment, right? Like concealment, like so like, okay, you went to war, Jocko, military man. You've probably done things, and the good guys that everyone would agree as good have done things that the public is not ready to see or hear about in detail.
Well, I don't really agree with that.
Okay, so let's say
I think if there's a whispering, then it's like, wait, what the hell's going on?
Okay, yeah, I guess it depends on what you mean by whispering.
Case in point, it's like in certain, like in Vietnam, there's things that are going on. It's like, wait a second, what's happening? Mm-hmm. Why is that happening?
Yeah, that's
because there's people whispering about it. Wait, we don't know the truth.
Mm. Let's go less heavy then.
So because there's a certain level, because there's also a difference between like operational security about an ongoing operation. Of course, like we don't want to give away our element of surprise on the enemy.
Right.
So there's an understanding why there's actual classified information, but it should be classified because it doesn't want to compromise the operations that are taking place. It shouldn't be classified because we're ashamed of what we did.
Yes,
that's a totally different thing.
I'm with you, and apologies because that's not what I meant. So it depends on what you mean by whispering. So like whispering is like what, like a metaphor, like, ooh, let's keep this like, you know what?
Oh yeah,
then,
it's a metaphor for like, hey dude, we don't bring it up right now.
So I was thinking like kind of almost more on the literal side, where let's say me and you're at a party. There's kids, there's women and children and all this stuff or whatever, and I gotta go use the bathroom. Like kind of bad. I ate some bad sausage or something like this, and I got to use the bathroom bad. I got some problems.
Bad sausage.
But we're all at a dinner table. It's kind of nice or whatever. So
you whisper to your wife, "I got to go to the bathroom."
Yeah. Or to my friend and be like,
"Cover for me."
Yeah,
make
kind
some
of a
noise
thing.
out here.
Exactly
Tell
right.
a loud story.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be in there blowing up the bathroom,
and I might be a while. You see what I'm saying? So I'm gonna whisper this to everyone. Don't got to know that. Yeah. So I'm going to whisper that to somebody I trust or,
Yeah, I think the metaphorical, it works better in this case than the reality. So, okay, point taken. Who undertakes too much succeeds in little?
I understand.
It's a little prioritize and execute activity right there. Like trying to do too much, not going to get much done. And then got two more to wrap this thing up for today. Who faints not achieves.
Who faints not achieves. Okay.
So
you just send
keep
it every
going.
time.
Keep going, man. Don't back off. Keep going. And then the last one is you dancing in the net and think nobody sees you.
If you don't mind, let's go back to who faints not. So my dad used to have this saying. BC all day, wise man. 2 degree. He said, "Don't get caught half stepping."
Yeah.
That's what he said. So it's kind of like, hey, bro, if we're doing this, we're doing this.
That's the McConaughey, the Matthew McConaughey thing that his dad told him.
What?
You heard this story. Matthew McConaughey was in law school and he wanted to go film school, and he called his dad and he was bracing because telling your dad when you're in law school to be a lawyer, a respectable job where you're going to be able to make money and have a good career, a respectable career. And you're like, I'm going to bounce out of that. I'm going to go to film school, right? Where there's very low probability of success. It's weird. There's no guarantee. And so Matthew McConaughey calls his dad and he's like, hey, Dad, this is what I want to do. And his dad said, well, son, don't half-ass it.
Half-ass it, yeah.
Yeah. So your dad, that's a very close proximity statement.
Yeah.
No half-stepping. And also, while we're on the path there, Walter White from Breaking Bad, no half measures.
No half measure.
Yeah, so this halfway stuff isn't going to get us there.
Yeah.
So we ain't half stepping, we ain't half measures, and we ain't going to half ass anything.
Nope.
We're going.
Understand.
This last one, once again, you dancing in the net and thinking nobody sees you.
Why do they say the net?
Because if you're a fish and you're in the net, you think you're not going to get caught. Right? This is I try to tell people this to me is about lack of self-awareness, right? And there's nothing worse than people that are doing nefarious things, small, big, large, whatever, and they think nobody sees them.
Yeah.
It's like people see. Yeah. You're sitting there dancing around in the net, and you think no one sees you. They're going to catch you. They see you. It's a bizarre form of ignorance, that lack of self-awareness, and it's a very scary thing. It's a very scary thing to have to not have the self-awareness to recognize that when you're making this little move, something that you're doing, you think nobody sees you.
Yeah.
We see you. We all see you, especially from a leadership position, man. You know, you're getting like special food, or you know, you're getting a hot coffee when everyone else is drinking cold coffee. Like everybody sees that.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it. Everybody sees what you're doing. So people can see more than you think. That's what's happening.
So even like things that are okay. So I worked with this guy long time ago.
Dude, you chatty today.
A little bit. That? You know, I've been out. You know, actually not now. Hey, bro, this is coincidentally. I was thinking about literally like a third of these things within the last like 3 days. Dawned upon me, you know, the depth of these things.
Because you texted me because you were on vacation, or you didn't text me, but you told me that when you listened to this one with me and Carrie, you were kind of hyped behind it.
Yeah, kind of sad.
Glad I saved the second one.
Yeah, fully. Only because
did you think Carrie didn't bring the game? Like
no, Carrie brought it, and as he always does, 100%. But I'm listening. You know, when you're listening to it, especially if you're watching it, you feel like you're kind of in the room too. You know, but I can't say anything. You see what I'm saying? I was like, oh, it's.
Well, you made up for it today, boy.
Yes, sir. But there's a lot of depth to a lot of these. You know, there's like, oh my god. Generally speaking, versus you know individual on an individual level, it's kind of like, you know, it gets a little bit more flexible. You know, in what regards are there exceptions, or under what circumstances? Sorry, are there exceptions to these? Right, in real life, and then there's big and small, right, and all this stuff. So dancing in the net, and one sees like even small. Okay, so you can have like two intentions at the same time. Yeah. One good and one like super selfish, right? And people see both. Unfortunately, under those circumstances, most of the time, they're going to see the bad one and it kind of just trumps the good one, you know? So it's like, let's say you're donating money, right? To, you know, this freaking awesome cause. And then you get up on stage and you're like, you know, I'm just donating all of my hard-earned money to this cause, you know? It kind of, people can kind of, I mean, under certain circumstances, they can see, oh, I see what you're doing. You're making more about you. You know, they can see what you're doing. Yeah. Even though you did this good thing, literally like donated, like it was going to help, it's going to save life, the whole deal.
There's no better way to ruin the credit you deserve by asking for the credit you deserve.
Exactly right. Bro, dancing in that net, bro. Yeah. Everyone's saying, and so I had a guy do that to me. I'm not even gonna tell the story, it doesn't even matter. But a guy did that to me, a group of us, where he was like a leader, and he was like, you know what? And basically we all got a bunch of money as like tips, right? And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna give my tips to you guys, right? He said that, and you'd think like, fuck, that's actually really nice. You know, after a freaking sick weekend, and you know the tips come in, you know, when you're in a job with tips. And he's like, you know what? And then he's like standing there, the way he said it in his tone, and he's looking at us all in the eyes, kind of like expecting almost like this big, like, I don't know, round of applause. Like he was expecting like a big reaction. And it was really like, and we're just watching him dance in the net, just an elaborate dance in the net. Meanwhile, we're getting tips. Bruh, that was not the front running sentiment right there. It was like, bruh, this guy was just dancing. So I was like, oh man, that's true. And he probably was like, fuck, I am sick. Everyone loves me now, but I think everyone else is like, bro, this guy's kind of douchey. You see what I'm saying?
And you know what? There's another proverb that you just kind of danced around a little bit, which is Never say never, never say always, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Which is something that I agree with.
Yeah.
Almost always. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't always agree with it, but because there are some always times and there are some never times. But never say never and never say always is usually pretty accurate because there's always some case that doesn't quite fit. And so, yeah, it's another good proverb. Even though there are times when you should say. So never say never, including never saying never.
Yeah.
And never say always, including never saying always. Like,
Yeah.
there's sometimes there's some things that are always and some things that are never.
So we're being like Jocko. We're being firm but flexible
Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
under most situations.
Many situations, the vast majority of situations. All right. So there you have it. And again, these things feel real obvious sometimes, but you're making decisions all day long. It's really good occasionally to think about how well you can be guided through some of these. Keep in front of mind, keep you on the path. And speaking of the path, we talked a little bit about working out today. Did you work out yet today?
No.
You were in a workout early in the morning thing for a little while, weren't you?
Yeah, I went in. I've dabbled in that for sure. But
Do you want to work out this afternoon? Like you're going to work out this afternoon?
Yes,
it's on the books.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to? Are you looking forward to it right now?
At this exact moment, no, because I kind of like chopping it up right now. But yeah, when I go home, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I'm not particularly tired or nothing like that. But there's a good chance when we get home, maybe I'll sit down for a second. I'll be like, oh, okay, I gotta force this workout in. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Part of the good.
Well, one thing that can help you if you're going to be working out is Jocko fuel. Getting the proper fuel.
Yep.
Is today a day where you may dabble in pre-workout?
Probably not. No.
No. Okay. And that's just it. You got good sleep last night. You're feeling good.
Feeling solid. Yeah.
If I'm getting sleep deprivation, I've been jacking my creatine a little bit. Maybe taking extra. Are you in the game?
Yeah, I started that too. Yeah.
Okay. So lots of creatine, occasional pre-workout. Go. By the way, you and I. So I was telling the Jocko Fuel team this morning. I was 100% getting sick yesterday.
Yeah.
Like look, 100%. I was getting sick. I felt it. So I just went crazy with Cold War. I took Cold War all day yesterday, and by the end of the day, I was like, oh, wait a second. Instead of feeling worse, which I was in the beginning of the downward spiral of sickness.
Yeah.
Cold, body shakes, whatever, the whole thing. I just pounded a bunch of Cold War, and by the end of the night, I was like, "Oh, I think we put that thing in check." And then this morning, boom, it's in check, 100%. I already lifted this morning, good lift.
That's when you know.
And now I'm just, you're feeling the same thing, but I'm taking Cold War all day today, so it's a good thing to have on the ready.
Yeah.
Boom, you get hit with a little something, get the Cold War going. Bunch of vitamin C in it, like it's got garlic in it too, and it's just freaking good. I don't know, it's got the stuff that pushes back those diseases. So check it out, Cold War protein. We got new flavors coming out. We got ready to drink protein. We got energy drink. We got Hydrate. Hydrate's awesome. I'm just drinking one right now. Check it out, jockofuel.com. Also, you can get this stuff at Walmart. You can get it at Wawa, Vitamin Shop, GNC. Military commissaries. We got AFES, Hannaford, Dash Stores, Wakefern, ShopRite. Down in HEB, down in Texas, they're going to be putting pallets on the floor at some point in the near future. Just racks of Jocko Fuel. Myers up in the Midwest. Wegmans, Harris Teeter, Publix down there in the southeast area of operations. Available. Going strong. I was talking to my buddy Steve down there the other day. He's like, dude, I'm running rampage inside the Publix. So appreciate that. And then also we got Lifetime Fitness, Shields. We got small gyms everywhere. We got a crew out there. If you got a small gym or you go to a small gym, contact jfsales@jockofuel.com and we will get Jocko Fuel into your small gyms. Maybe you got a big gym. If you got a big gym, even better. But either way, your people in the gym need Jocko Fuel. So get it. Also, Origin USA. OriginUSA.com. We're making stuff here in America. We're making jeans. We're making boots. We're making hoodies. We're making t-shirts. I just donated a pair of boots. Did you? I didn't even. I felt a little bad because I presented them to Carrie.
I felt that too, by the way. Yeah.
Are you hurt?
Well said.
So I thought Carrie's, he's a little younger than us. He's got a little bit more necessity for looking sharp, right? Let's face it. You and me, we're past that phase. You know what I'm saying?
We're in other phases for sure.
We're trying to be strong, right? Yeah. We're not slacking on our lifting or our running or our sprinting or our workout. We're slacking there, but maybe we're not dressing up as much as Carrie has to dress up, right?
It's a good
point. He's in a relationship, but he, you know what I'm saying? He's looking good still. He's in the game.
100%. You're correct.
So I immediately gave a pair of Chelsea boots that had been sent to me. I was like, look, I can wear these, sure, but Carrie could use them. You know what I mean? Put them to use.
Yeah.
So I gave him. He was pumped. He put them on. He left
them on. That was what he was wearing today. Yeah.
So we got boots. We got just everything that you need, and it's all 100% made in America from American-made materials. So no one's doing that. No one's committed to doing that like we are. So,
question about the boots.
Yeah.
So those aren't like some new boots that are not available yet.
No, the Chelseas are available.
They're
at this
available,
time.
right? Yeah.
And with the Goodyear welt.
Is there different colors?
I think so. And if there's not, I think I know someone that might be able to help you out there.
See what up with that.
Because I do have a pair of the blacked out mock toe that look, I got them custom and they're legit.
I understand.
And you know what? If there's a high demand for them, we can put them into production. You know what I mean?
Oh, like different colors?
Yeah, if a bunch of people, no specific. We're not going to, you can't run 50 different custom pairs, You got to make them, all right, here's an option.
Right.
Blacked out Jocko style boots might be a thing.
Oh, okay. So when you say custom, wait, what does that mean?
I mean, they literally made them for me.
Right. Okay, so they didn't like freaking put your shoe in a mold.
No,
whatever.
No.
Okay,
hey, this size, these all black.
Right.
Cool. We get it.
It's not part of the standard offering scenario or whatever. But back to the Chelsea ones, not the mock. Mock toed, great. Only because those Chelsea was a little bit like more of a lighter weight kind of a look, right?
Yeah, they're definitely a little bit sleeker.
Sleeker, exactly right. Like
I heard Pete describing it something like business casual. He said it's leaning a little bit more towards business.
Yeah, I would even say
it's not full business.
Yeah.
Maybe if they were black. But then again, I'm not the right person to ask. You know what I mean?
I think that those are like, they're leaning towards straight up fashion. Like those look like if someone's come walking in with those boots.
So you're saying they're leaning towards like sharp dress.
Like, and I'm saying in a good way. You know, look, are you in touch with that whole side of things?
No,
as much as maybe you could be? No, probably not. But
how about it all?
Yeah, or at all, But I recognized that, yes, I'm looking at these boots. If those were paired with the appropriate attire, someone who cares about aesthetic, brother, they're sliding right in. And they looked good. And, and I said this before, hey, look, I'm looking at Carrie, with a staunch, unblemished record of heterosexuality, and recognize that he looked amazing in them. See what I'm saying?
Check.
So I'm saying that it was an attractive pair of footwear.
Okay.
So I might want to get some of those. Those are more my style, I think. More so than, because I don't really wear that many boots.
Maybe you might have just caught a blemish on your
yeah, my little record there. And it is
the record just got blemished.
Well, thanks to the boots. See what I'm saying? Yeah, that's how powerful.
Irresistible. Even Echo Charles, he fell off the path for a minute.
Hey, we're out here appreciating stuff.
Right on. Well, if you need any of this stuff, 100% made in America, go to originusa.com and get some. That's what we're doing.
It's true. Also, Jocko Store. Of course, we're still going. Jocko Store. This one equals freedom. We're representing on this path. Hey, choose your hard. Of course. But when you choose the correct hard, you can not only represent, you make it just slightly more, I don't want to say easy. We'll say pleasurable.
Take a little bit of pleasure in the pain.
Yeah, exactly right. And represent. So anyway, this one equals freedom. We got your shirts and hoodies, and we got tank tops on there. We were out of tank tops for a while. Don't ask why. But summer is coming up. So I'm saying, we're going to be wearing tank tops. Guns out.
Guns out.
Yeah,
boy, look at you over there.
You understand. 100%. So be on the lookout for that. Keep in mind, too, we have the socks going, hats on there, a lot of stuff on there. So check it out.
Did you get me some of those shirt locker shirts that I wanted?
Not yet, but you got to wait like 5 more days.
Okay, cool.
And make sure.
Good.
Oh, yeah. So Shirt Locker, if you don't know what that is, it's a subscription scenario, new shirt. different designs, all representing the path, just in different ways. More creative, fun. You know, people have fun with that.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, subscription scenario, different design every month. It's on JockoStore.com. Just click on the top. Sherlock, you can kind of check out what the vibe is. And yeah, if you like that, sign up, bro. It's a good one. JockoStore.com.
There you go. Also, check out ColoradoCraftBeef.com and PrimalBeef.com. You need steak in your life, so that's where you want to get it. Get it from two awesome American company, awesome American people, families at those companies, and of course, awesome steak, awesome jerky, awesome beef sticks, awesome franks, awesome patties, beef patties. It's just awesome.
I got a recipe for you.
Go.
Fuck, I might have told you this. No, I'm saying it again. Doesn't matter. Okay. I made this last night, so it's fresh on my mind. And the night before, by the way. Okay, we've got ground beef, 1 pound, depending how big you are. If you're concerned with like the macros or whatever, you want to line them up. I put ground beef 1 pound. Boom. I put like a certain seasoning in it. It's called Dakine seasoning. Yeah. But you can put whatever, you can do the rib rub, whatever.
No, you shouldn't say whatever, because that's kind of critical.
Yes.
To just be like whatever.
Well, I mean whatever, like whatever seasoning that you like. I particularly like this one. So you can do the rib rub, because I'll do that too. So anyway, you put your seasoning in there. Not too much, but just some. Boom, you saute it up, right? You cook it on a pan or whatever. Boom, when it's done, I put 3 eggs. Put 1 egg, 0 eggs, whatever you want. But I put like right when it's done cooking, I crack 3 eggs on it, right? Just gourmet
Then
style.
mix it in or no?
I don't mix it in. Before you can do like an omelet scenario, which I used to do a lot, but I just do 3 eggs plus all the ground beef. Okay. Then I make rice. I prefer rice. It's gonna sound weird, but bear with me. So you go rice, boom. You put the ground beef on top, boom, with the eggs on top, boom. Spaghetti sauce. I know, bear with me. Spaghetti sauce, not too much. Honey mustard. Dressing, boom. A little bit of like low fat or non fat cheese. Depends on your macros. Sprinkle. Sounds crazy, right?
No, it all sounded semi-normal until you said you put all that shit on there and then you go low-fat cheese.
Yep.
Like, what the hell?
Well, here's why. And this is my particular thing, and other people might be like this as well. When I start putting cheese on stuff, bro, I can go too far. For real.
What cheese? What kind of cheese?
I don't know. Regular when I go too far?
Like mozzarella cheese, or what are we
talking
about?
So last night was mozzarella cheese, yeah. But you put whatever cheese you like, bro. But it just adds a little something. Don't put too much, because we're going to be tempted to do that. And then sometimes you can throw off all your macros. You can like almost double your calories if you're concerned about that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, watch out for the cheese. That's why I do the low fat. Keep the macros like not quite as high, but you still get the good macros. Protein, enough carbohydrates for your thing. Unless you're doing keto, that's another thing. But I'm just saying that recipe, you'll be surprised that the seasoning plus the spaghetti sauce, not too much. Not as much. Like put it half as much spaghetti sauce as you would put on spaghetti. Half as much. And then honey mustard. Half as much honey mustard as you put spaghetti sauce. There you go. That's the ratio. Bro, try it. Bro, you're over here doubting the whole, you have a skeptical look on your face. I'm telling you 100%, with very few exceptions, it'll be very good. That you'll be like, this is impressively good.
Check. You're going to get a lot of hate for that
No,
whole thing.
I won't. No, I won't, actually.
A lot of people
I won't.
chatting on that one. All right, well, there you go. What you're going to need ground beef for part of that recipe. So check out Colorado Craft Beef or Primal Beef. Also, subscribe to the podcast. Also, check out Jocko Underground. Also, we got a bunch of YouTube channels, Jocko Podcast official YouTube channel, Jocko Fuel podcast channel, Origin USA podcast channel. We got a bunch of books. By the way, we got a book called The Modern Submission Grappling, written by Miha. Yeah. Check that one out.
Yeah.
It's good to review that thing. Keep things on your mind. And there's a whole video online activity you can go and do.
Like a compliment to the book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
QR
legit.
code.
Oh, yeah.
The whole 9 yards. So go check that out. Check out Miha's. I got to get his website from him. If you Google Miha Modern Submission Grappling, you'll get there.
That's new to me, that you have a video compliment to the book. Is that new? Have you heard of that before? I'm out of that world.
I don't know, but Miha did it.
Bro, that's like something that's like...
Because Miha and Keenan had like a little a studio for filming jiu-jitsu moves and stuff.
Yeah.
And so Miha was said to himself, well, we got the studio. We got people that want to learn. They bought the book. Yeah. Let's get them in the game.
So that's like,
there you go.
that is smart. I mean, sorry if someone else had come up with that as a thing, but that's the first I ever heard of it. But that is something that is massively needed, because when you like anything, if you just read the book, especially something that so heavily requires like physical practice, bruh, that's like a huge hole in the learning process.
Now you're covered.
Not anymore.
So check out Miha's gig. Plus, I've written a bunch of books about leadership. I've written a bunch of kids' books. So check those out. Also, we have a leadership consultancy called Echelon Front, where we solve problems through leadership. Many skills it takes to be a good leader. Now, look, you're born with some of them. Like you're born with some potential for some of these skills, but you might not necessarily have honed those skills. And some of them you might not even know about. Imagine like jujitsu, there's a move that you didn't know. Same thing can happen with leadership.
Even moves within the moves, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I keep picking up, like when I keep going to these musters that you guys throw. The moves within the moves.
Yep. There's a lot to learn. Leadership is a skill. Go to echelonfront.com if you want to bring this skill into your organization, or you want to come to one of our events where we teach these skills. And also, you can go to a place called extremeownership.com and you can learn these skills online. You can learn skills, leadership skills online. You can learn jiu-jitsu online. And listen, if you can learn jiu-jitsu, which is a physical altercation between two human beings in very close proximity, you can actually learn that from videos and online. And you can do the same thing with leadership. So check out extremeownership.com. Also, if you want to help service members, active and retired, you want to help their families, you want to help Gold Star families, check out Markley's mom, Mama Lee. She's got an incredible charity organization. If you want to donate or you want to get involved, go to americasmightywarriors.org. Also, check out Micah and Micah Fink. He's got his organization, heroesandhorses.org, up in Montana. And then Jimmy May, he's got his organization, beyondthebrotherhood.org. I just met with Jimmy the other day, doing great stuff. If you want to connect with us, you can check out jocko.com. Also, social media, I'm at Jocko Willink, Echo's at Echo Charles. Just watch out. The ancient proverb, if you play with the algorithm will play with you. It's a monster. Watch out for it. Thanks to the men and women in the service around the globe right now, standing on the front lines of freedom to protect our way of life. Thank you for your service. Thanks to police, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, correctional officers, Border Patrol, Secret Service, as well as all other first responders. Thank you for your service to protect us here at home. And to everyone else out there, I'm going to close with the proverb that we opened with. If you leap into a well, providence is not bound to fetch you out. That's right. You are responsible for your actions. And I recommend that you don't leap into any wells, or you don't make any bad decisions, or you don't place yourself into any bad positions or scenarios. But if you do, don't count on anyone or anything, earthly or divine, to come and pull you out. It's all on you. So take ownership and make things right. And that's all we've got for tonight. And until next time, this is Echo and Jocko.